Hello and welcome to Rule of Three's video review for Akiba's Trip 2 Undead and Undressed for the PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 3 systems. So technically this is the second game in the Akiba Trip series. The first one was for the PSP. Never touched it, so I had no idea what... I didn't even know this was the second game until I did a little bit more background check on it. And it is an RPG. An action RPG that is more of a satirical comedy kind of game. And it's an interesting game. It's definitely different from most games I've played in terms of theme and tone. But on the whole, it's just very, very repetitive and it's slow as well.
He is truly a man with a mysterious air about him. In many anime games, he would surely hold some vital clue to aid us in our quest.
So the storyline follows the protagonist, whose name is Nanashi, but you can change it to whatever the hell you want. They never say his name. And he's an otaku, you know, and takes a trip down to the famous Akihabara area of Japan, where, you know, all the nerdy stuff is, and all the otaku live. And he, you know, gets a job offer, and they pay him in rare figurines. Well, it turns out this is actually a ploy to kidnap people and turn them into superhuman, like vampire kind of thing, where they can't be in the sun, but they're superhuman strength and stuff, and they suck the life out of people so they no longer have the will to carry on their daily lives and give them extreme lethargy. However, Nanashi is, you know, is able to escape with the help of Shizuku, a mysterious girl who is able to save him from his fate, but he still has a weakness to sunlight, but no longer is evil, and will lose his mind to mind control. You team up with his, you know, his buddies from the Freedom Squad that goes around and patrols Akiba to keep it safe, and you take out all of the what are called synthesizers, which are what he is in the vampire type name in this game. And you beat them up, take off their clothes so they burn in the sunlight. Like I said, the story is actually pretty funny. It's very stereotypical. It plays all the right, like, you know, these characters are very self-aware that they're kind of being characterized as a certain type of otaku or nerd or whatever. And they play off that really, really well. The storyline is just really over the top. The problem is pacing. It paces itself very, very slow, which is the biggest beef I have with it. Is just the pacing just it doesn't feel right. But the characters and the actual overlying story are actually pretty good.
And we'll always give you our best advice. Although, don't ask.
What? Why? I know all the right dialogue options for every dating sim there is.
Gameplay is, when I said earlier that it's repetitive, is where it gets very, very repetitive. So it's an action RPG. You go around Akiba and you beat up the vampire people and strip off their clothes. And you do this by punching their head, torso, and lower parts. You damage those parts enough, you can strip off that piece of clothing. Once they have no clothing on, they burn in the sun and die. You can also do this to random civilians, in which case they just run away in their undies. There's this, you know, you can combo, so if you damage enough people to where, you know, you have like maybe 4 or 5 people with like maybe an article of clothing that you can take off. If you do it right, you can combo it, so say you take off one person's pants, this person's shirt's weakened, you can now rip that off in a combo, and then do that, and, you know, do a couple of combos. If you do enough, you get like this super combo where it actually becomes completely naked, and you get a white fuzz over them. Either they burn in the sun or run away. The combat is, I don't know, the problem is it doesn't change. It's always the same. It's literally just punch head, punch head, punch head, punch torso, punch torso. It doesn't have any real special abilities. It's, you know, you equip random stuff you find around, like nightsticks, umbrellas, giant posters, laptops, and you just beat people up with them. But the combat never gets any real depth, in my opinion. It's literally just the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, with no real, you know, addition to the combat. The fight, you can also block counter. The counter system is actually pretty well done. It does take a bit of a timing skill to do counters. And that's pretty much it for gameplay, at least the combat. You can go also equip different types of clothing that have different durabilities that increase, how much damage you can take before an enemy can take off a piece of your clothing. You can go around getting collectibles from the different shops. There's a ton of side quests which have you go around and collect things to talk to people. And that's pretty much it. So in order to find synthesizers, since they look like everyday people, you take your phone out and you take pictures of them, and they come out all distorted, and that's how you can tell if someone's a synthesizer. It's based off their picture from what the picture shows, and you talk to that person and you fight them. Boss fights are pretty fun. Every time you beat one, you get a really kind of etchy picture of a girl, sometimes a guy, on the fight of them in their skinnies. And just as a warning to anybody who plays this game, like I've been talking about, you do strip people down to their underwear. It is, you assault people and take off clothing. That is pretty much the premise of this game. So you gotta be, if you don't, just go into that knowing that. Don't expect, just a kind of a funny satirical story. The way the combat is, is getting into a whole different realm of weird. Which hell would die. It's just weird on the whole. Let's see. I don't think there's any other gameplay. Like I said, it's just very repetitive, and you just do the same thing over. Even the side quests, it's really just doing the same things over and over again. That aspect got boring really fast. The only thing that kept me going is really kind of the storyline and characters.
Maybe you were really a hero inside this whole time, and you just had to get stronger before you could show it. You are kickboxing with vampires, That takes guts.
So I don't think Akiba Strip is, the greatest JRPG to come out in recent times. In fact, it's nowhere near that. It is a good satirical story and kind of pokes fun at, the otaku lifestyle and the things that go on in Akiba. I can't pronounce the full name right now. It's Akihabara. And I took Japanese. I should know how to pronounce some of this word. You can make fun of me in the comments if you want about that. But it's a fun game, and it is enjoyable. You just got to be prepared for overly repetitive gameplay. I give Akiba Strip 2 a rent verdict. Like I said, it's not a terrible game. It is like I said, it is fun. It has its moments, but just be ready for a grind and very repetitiveness. That's it for this video. Hopefully tomorrow or Sunday, which is tomorrow, Sunday or Monday, no later than Tuesday, I'll have the Risen 3 review up. I'm still playing that one, but I should be done playing it here in a little bit. I'm about 28 hours in after recording of this. By the time you listen, I'm probably done with it. By the time I actually get this up. So thanks for listening, everybody, and always remember to trust in the rule of 3.